Hi sir, welcome to Love Heals Cancer and ZenOnco.io. I'm Justina from ZenOnco. This is our cancer healing journey talks where we invite speakers who have gone through cancer, maybe as a patient, as a caregiver, or survivor. So these CAGs are very close to our heart because many patients tell us that it is when they listen to others' journey, it inspires them. So it helps to boost their confidence and give them hope that if others have been able to successfully beat the disease, why can't we? So thank you very much, sir, for joining us for today's CHG session. Uh, sir, could you please introduce yourself and tell us how it all began?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And, just excited to be a part of your community today and hopefully help out as best I can. So my name is Matt and I'm 23 years old now and I'm from the United States, specifically from Cleveland, Ohio. And 6 years ago, at the age of 24, I was the healthiest version of myself, working out all the time, eating the right foods, things like that. And all of a sudden, I started to have these minor back pains over the summer and they kept gradually getting worse and worse. And as a young, adult, especially in your 20s, you kind of just think life is, you're invincible to a lot of things and you can just overcome whatever comes your way without having to get checked out or without having to talk to people about whether it's a mental struggle, a physical struggle, things like that. So for me, the issue kept getting worse and worse and worse. And one night, I was over at my girlfriend's house, now fiance's, and I ended up puking up blood. Got rushed to the emergency room, and they discovered that I had lost 2/3 of the blood circulating in my body, which is equivalent to being shot with a gun. And they gave me 6 bags of blood that day and put me into an emergency surgery because they didn't know what was causing the bleeding. So the next morning, I wake up to the doctor coming into the office, and I'm thinking he's ready to just send me home and I'm, on my way. But little did I know it was the complete opposite. So he came over to me, he sat down, he held my hand, and he said, "Matt, we found an 11-centimeter tumor in your small intestine. We know it is cancer, but we don't know what type yet. We have to rush you to our main campus of the Cleveland Clinic immediately," which I was at a local hospital at the time. And thank goodness I was near one of the best hospitals in the world. So right from then, it was kind of just like a whirlwind. I remember it was just me and my parents at the time. Nobody else had known yet. And I instead of breaking down or like sharing any emotions, I decided to hold it all in because I thought that was the right thing at the time. Yet looking back, it was actually the worst thing I could have done because it was just causing more stress. It was causing more PTSD, more anxiety, and not allowing me to focus on the root issue, which was what are the next steps to healing myself? What are the next steps to finding a way to cure myself through whatever type of cancer I'm about to discover here? And, of course, everyone has a grieving process, but for me, it lasted a good few days to almost a week. But as they brought me to the Cleveland Clinic, they did a bunch of tests on me, and that is when they found out I had the highest stage of testicular cancer. The cancer had spread across my body and to different parts of my kidneys, my lungs, and other areas of my body as well. Now, the weird part, really quick, about the whole situation was most people, like 95% of people, when they have testicular cancer, their symptom forms in the testicle. And for me, mine originated there, but never had any symptoms there. So that right there was one of the weird reasons why I probably definitely never got checked from, a doctor, because I never had a true symptom there. So that was kind of how I discovered all this. And when I was finally able to share my emotions and break down was, when I was finally able to get a hold of Lauren, my now fiance, girlfriend at the time, and she came in, visited me, and I just remember breaking down and just crying. And it was like one of the most like freeing things I was able to do, because I knew that, number one, she wasn't going to leave me, because that was kind of terrifying. And it wasn't like a bad thing. It was just a lot of stress to put on her, because we'd only been dating for 2 months at that time. And second, to just know that I had somebody, my parents, of course, and friends, but just knowing that I had her there as well to just kind of express my emotions and what I was going through. So it's kind of like a massive weight lifted off my shoulders. And I always tell people, it's okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay to express what you're going through with somebody that you can know, like, and trust, or somebody that has gone through a similar situation as you, that you feel like can understand the emotional journey that you're on.
Yeah, sir, it would have been very difficult for you because you were pretty young, and yeah, it's hard to keep everything bottled up inside instead of sharing it. And yeah. So, sir, were there any pre-existing comorbidities or any family history you have from your side?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So my grandfather, nobody had testicular cancer, so that was the weird part. But I did have my grandfather, I believe it was prostate cancer, and he unfortunately didn't want to go a medical route and wanted to go more holistic, and it grew to a point where he unfortunately passed away. But I think he could have been no doubt cured if he had gone a more medical route. Of course, I had a couple of other like great grandparents that had faced certain types of cancers, but besides that, there was no real like true medical history along my direct family. So that was also a shock, especially the fact that I had been so healthy and so active and eating the right foods, things like that, trying to really take care of my body. And the one thing I've learned in life is cancer does not discriminate, meaning it doesn't matter what age you are, doesn't matter how healthy or unhealthy you are, doesn't matter where you're at in life. It can hit you at any point in time. And I'm not saying that always be fearful or worried about it, but what I am trying to say is, if you have an abnormal symptom in your body that lasts over 2 weeks, just go get it checked out. Go and just see what's going on. 8% of the time, 99% of the time, it's not cancer, which is great, but at least you can get that taken care of and figured out. Now, for my case, unfortunately, it was. And if I would have went when I started to have these symptoms, instead of it being the highest stage of testicular cancer, it might have been a stage 1, or it might have been a stage 2. So that would be my best advice for individuals.
So, sir, as you said that it was very shocking because you were pretty healthy. So, what was your family's and your people around you, their reaction when they heard about this?
Yeah. So number one, my parents, definitely when they first got the news, of course, were distraught and very emotional. I think I've seen my father maybe cry like once or twice in his life, and that was one of the times. And for me, that's where I felt like I needed to be that strong individual and not share anything, because I didn't want them to see that I'm breaking down or anything. But it wouldn't be me breaking down. It'd be more or less just me being able to express my emotions as well. So they took it hard in the beginning, but also they were incredible throughout my entire journey as well. Just being there and being very present and trying to know every step to help healing me. I had tons of friends and family coming in to just support me and praying for me. I don't push religion on anybody, but just being a Christian, I had a lot of prayers and a lot of, people just there to make sure that I was just, in the right hands and staying strong in my faith. And then, Lauren, my fiance, I would call her kind of like an angel sent down, just because she was like a rock. Like, she didn't, not that she didn't express her emotions, she did, but she mostly was super strong around me and was really good at keeping me grounded so that I didn't necessarily kind of go towards the wrong like way emotionally and mentally, meaning like just letting myself give up or feeling like there's no chance, things like that. She was very strong. I know she expressed more of her emotions away from me, so that it wasn't just like a constant emotional journey with each other, but she was incredible as well. So I feel like I will say this, I was very, very blessed to have incredible family as well.
Yeah, sir. I totally agree with you. Like getting support from your loved ones is the main strength of pillar for the healing journey. So, sir, what treatment did you undergo during the cancer?
Yeah, so I went through what's called BEP, which is bleomycin, etoposide, and cisplatin. Now, with testicular cancer, the most they ever usually want to do with you is 4 rounds. But since my tumor markers were so high, which they mark what's called your AFP, which is alpha beta protein, I think. And what that basically is you, for a male, need to be under 5 in order to be normal, cancer free, all of that. I was over 75 to 100,000 in that chart. I was off of their chart. So for them, since I was healthy, but had taken care of myself at the time, they wanted to add an extra round. So I went through 5 rounds of BEP, which immediately losing my hair, super fatigued. For me, I had to really make sure I was on top of my nausea medicine, because if I didn't, it was just like an absolute mess. So it was a big, big battle, because I went from this 185-pound strong personal trainer to losing all this weight in a matter of 4 months, losing close to 35 to 40 pounds, feeling like everything I worked for was kind of gone. But I realized that this is what I needed to really get myself forward and start curing myself from this cancer. So I would say one of the biggest hurdles I did end up facing while I was going through chemotherapy was a mental journey, going through my 3.5 to 4-year-old puppy passed away in the middle of my chemotherapy due to cancer as well. And he was going through cancer when I was, and we were kind of I felt like almost like best friends fighting this together. And anyone who's had a pet or something, they know it's like losing a best friend. But for me, just going through literally going through cancer, and I had finished my chemotherapy session that day, had to come home and go with my parents in Lawrence to go put down my best friend. And it was just completely draining for me for an entire week. But at one point, I had to realize that I can't let those situations control my life. Instead, what I had to do was say, what do I need to do today to start progressing forward? Yes, we all need to grieve at certain points. Yes, we all need to be, it's okay to be upset, but there's a certain point in time where you have to also be willing to move on from those situations, not forgetting it, but just moving on so that you can better yourself. And I dedicated the rest of my chemotherapy to my dog Duke, basically saying, I'm going to fight like hell. I'm just going to, keep progressing forward and just push through whatever struggles or pain that I'm feeling that way. So that was kind of my journey through chemotherapy.
Sir, you are indeed a warrior, actually. So did you go through any other alternative treatment, or thought of going through any alternative treatment?
So for me, after chemotherapy, I ended up having a 10 to 12-hour surgery to remove my tumor and the rest of my cancer. It's called an RPL&D surgery. Now, this is common for very high stage testicular cancer patients. And basically what had happened was, so unfortunately the chemo was the easy part of my journey, and the hard part was after that with this surgery, because it caused many near-death experiences for me. So I went in, I got my 10 to 12-hour surgery to remove the tumor, to remove the rest of the cancer in my body. And what had happened was, a week and a half later, basically originally when I first came out, I had massive swelling in my stomach. So they cut my stomach open from my left hip to my right hip. And what had happened was, I went to that surgery at about 140, 145 pounds from losing all that weight from chemotherapy. Coming out of that surgery, I was close to 200 pounds. I had all of this swelling in my stomach and all around my arms and legs. And my doctor said that we put a draining tube in your stomach and eventually it should just drain and you should be okay within a couple of weeks. Well, a week and a half goes by and all of a sudden the draining just stops, not in a good way, just stops out of nowhere. And I'm in so much pain that I go from my home all the way to the main campus of the Cleveland Clinic, where they had to drain 7 liters of fluid out of my stomach, caused me to go into complete kidney and liver failure. I had a cone drilled inside my head to monitor brain swelling, potential brain swelling. I had a catheter in my chest and in my neck because they thought I was going to be on dialysis the rest of my life. And I fell into a 2-week non-induced coma. Now, long story short, I ended up being in the ICU for over 40 plus days. I ended up being in the Cleveland Clinic for 53 days straight. And a week out of my coma, my 2-week coma, they went to take out one of the catheters in my neck. And I ended up having what's called an arrhythm heartbeat. I went to cardiac arrest. They had to do 8 minutes of CPR to bring me back to life. And I fell into another 1-week coma. Now, throughout that entire process, I had to completely relearn to walk and relive my entire life again. I ended up having 5 major surgeries throughout that short period of time, where I was bedridden for more than half of it. And basically from laying in my ICU bed to taking my very first steps again took me close to 2 to 2.5 weeks, with nurses constantly helping me. And, eventually I was released from the hospital after 53 days, and I had dropped down from what I was telling you, close to 200 pounds to almost 110 pounds. I couldn't eat anything. I couldn't drink anything. It was all through liquid IVs. And it was one of the most stressful, painful, obviously, experiences of my life. But I will say this, a lot of it I couldn't remember because I was either in a coma or I was on so much medication that I just couldn't necessarily remember. But the parts that I do remember was just like, I have a little saying is, everything in life happens for you, not to you. And it's not the situations that you should be concerned about. It's how you deal with the situations. Meaning, are you going to say, why is this happening to me? Letting it define you, making excuses, becoming the victim of the situation? Or are you going to say, how is life happening for me? And you could start to say, I know this is unfair. I know there's a big challenging road ahead of me, but how can I learn from this situation and become a better version of myself throughout the process? And more importantly, down the road, do what I'm doing now by giving back and helping the community, helping other people who may be struggling with similar situations. And for me, I just had to have this mindset of, I know it's not fair. I know there's so many challenges, but what can I do today to win the day, to progress me forward tomorrow, to start healing myself? And a really cool story is I met Lauren on March 17th of 2016, and I was released from the hospital after 53 days on March 17th of 2017. So it's a very special day for us. And for me, I feel like it was just like a meaning. There was a meaning behind that day for sure. And so I would just tell anybody out there who is struggling right now, who feels like they're at rock bottom, because there were so many rock bottom moments for me. I want to let you know that that rock bottom situation may not be a bad thing at all. It actually may be the beginning of a new chapter for your life, because the only place you can go from being in rock bottom is up. And sometimes we need to hit that area of our life in order to truly make the change to go the direction that, for me, God or whoever you believe in has always wanted you to go and has always led you to go, to becoming the best version of yourself and really start to go towards your calling and your meaning in life.
You actually went through a lot when you were like very young, and it takes a lot of effort to mentally train yourself to respond to the situation rather than reacting. So yeah. So
Oh,
yes,
you're
sir.
good. You're good.
So sir, during the journey, how did you manage your emotional and mental well-being, like for example journaling or anything else?
Yeah. So the emotional and mental side of all of it, for me, was not letting, not worrying about the past and constantly dwelling about what could potentially happen again. And then also not constantly focusing on what could go wrong in the future. So what I mean by that is when we're constantly dwelling about the past, letting our past situations become who we think we're going to be today and who we think we're going to be in the future, and then not letting our future of, well, what if this happens, what if that happens, and just staying focused and staying present. You probably heard, you need to learn to stay present in life. Well, for me, this was like the ultimate practice, because if I didn't, I could potentially pass away because of how severe this situation was. For me, I had to stay laser focused on what do I do today to start to heal myself. And like I was saying before, it's called winning the day. So what I mean by that is you focus on one thing, that's it, just one thing today that is going to progress you forward towards your goals or towards healing yourself after, challenging experiences. For me, when I was in the ICU room, my number one goal was to get out of the ICU room. So what did I need to do today? Today, I needed to get up and sit up on my bed. Maybe tomorrow is, instead of just sitting on my bed, I needed to stand for 15 to 20 seconds. And then eventually it turned to just walking and things like that. So the mental game is you cannot let your past define you. You cannot let your future control who you think you're going to be and constantly worry about it. You have to stay focused on today, win the day, and eventually those daily wins turn into weekly wins, which turn into monthly wins, which turn into you finally being able to heal yourself and work through, the process of, whatever you've been dealt with and whatever you're going through. So for me, it was really, really challenging. And don't get me wrong, I had plenty of ups and down days. There were days where you have setbacks too. I kind of look at it like a slingshot, so you have a slingshot and you have adversity, you have a setback, you have another setback, but eventually there's going to be a time where that slingshot goes. And when it goes, all of that adversity, all of those struggles, all of that pain turn into lessons that allow you to just break through barriers you never thought you could break through in your life. And I tell people, you'll see people who have instant success, or you see people that you're like, how did they get to this area? Well, you didn't see all the struggle and all the pain and all the lessons they had to learn along the way in order to eventually get to where they want to be. It doesn't happen overnight, but when you have all those lessons and all of the things that you've been able to overcome, it makes it a lot easier to progress yourself forward. So everything I was going through was teaching me mentally to progress forward and physically to healing myself first. So that would be, I guess, the emotional side of what I had gone through.
So there must be times where you will be feeling that, you cannot handle this much pain or this much, hospital, being admitted in a hospital and all that. So there must be times where you just want to give up everything. So what kept you going on such days?
Yeah, cancer was bigger than myself. That's what I'll tell you. It wasn't just about me. When you have a meaning or you have a thing you're trying to overcome that is bigger than you. So it was number one, my faith, asking God to help me every day to be strong, to give me wisdom, to give me courage to just progress forward. Number two was doing it for the people I love. Now, when you have a bigger why or a bigger meaning attached to where you're trying to head, it makes it a lot more, I wouldn't say easy, but it gives you more strength to progress forward, because you're not letting those really challenging moments just completely let you derail yourself, because you're saying that I'm doing this for me, I'm doing this for Lauren, I'm doing this for my parents. And I know that there's going to be really, really tough days ahead, but I am not just going to give up on myself. I'd be giving up on them as well. And that right there gave me that extra courage, that extra strength to progress myself forward. So number one was my faith. And number two was realizing that cancer wasn't just about me. I was battling and overcoming this for the people I love and my friends and my family and everyone that I cared for as well.
That is so true. During the cancer journey, it's like 40% treatment and the 60% is you. So yeah, that's true.
100%.
So during the journey, what were the changes of lifestyle that you made?
Yeah. Number one was grounding myself more, not stressing over small things that I used to in the past, letting them control my emotions, letting them control my actions, things like that. Being willing to say, hey, like, how can I just like enjoy, or how can I just focus on today? What do I need to do? And how do I just, enjoy this moment? A lot of the times we kind of just go through emotion, and next thing you know, the whole week is gone. And then the weekend, in order to, get ourselves away from the week, we, try to distract ourselves on the weekend. And it's just a vicious cycle of just bad habits and not really ever just taking a moment to what I call smell the roses, just like being willing to say, hey, like, I've overcome so much in my life. Like, it's okay to take a breather and just enjoy today. Just enjoy where you're at now with the people you love, the experiences that you have, and the time that you still have on this earth. Because your most precious thing in life is not money, it's not fame, it's none of that stuff. It's your time and your energy that you're spending with yourself, with people you care about, and with experiences that actually give you meaning, happiness, and fulfillment in life. Not just drowning yourself in alcohol, drowning yourself in drugs because you want to distract yourself from things that maybe have been stressful for you. Now, there's a time and place where you can have a couple of drinks with friends or whatever, but there's also a different point of you just going out every weekend and totally letting yourself go because you are upset or miserable because of your week that you had just had. So what I'm trying to say is enjoy your time, enjoy your energy, and make sure that you just, like I was saying, but be present with what you're doing in that moment. So for me, that was one lifestyle change. Another one was, having to relearn to rebuild my mindset, rebuild my body, eating the right foods. For me, I was healthy then, but I was even more dialed in now because I knew that in order to heal myself and to get myself back to where I am at today, I needed to really take it to another level of healing myself. And how I started to do that was just little baby steps. So if anybody here is on a health journey, trying to rebuild your life, trying to either gain weight or lose weight or whatever it might be, remember, it starts with today. And for me, it started with, I had two lawn chairs, literally two lawn chairs that were about 50 feet apart when I was learning to walk again. I would sit in one lawn chair and I would get all my energy up to get up off that chair and walk to the next one. I would sit down there for a minute, contemplate life for a little bit because it was just so tiring. And then I would get back up and I'd go back. And guess what I would do the next day? I would move that lawn chair a little further and I'd move it a little bit further. And eventually it wasn't in the driveway anymore. It was on the sidewalk. And I was going further and further. And eventually I didn't need that lawn chair anymore. And now I can go out and walk 5 miles without even catching a breath. So like, I'm telling you right now, if you're on this journey of transforming your body or transforming your mindset, it starts with today. And it's those small daily actions that compound into massive long-term results. I'm now 5 years cancer-free. So it took me about 2 to 2.5 years to really transform my mind, my body, and eating the right foods. It also came down to, what am I putting in my body that is quality food? So a lot of people think it's just calories in, calories out. Oh, if I eat less calories, I'll lose weight. If I eat more, I'll gain weight. No, it's about the quality of foods that you're eating high micronutrient dense foods, meaning fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, lean meats that are going to give you the energy source that are going to help replenish and also repair a lot of your damaged body that you've gone through and whatever adversity you've been facing, especially during cancer. So for me, that is my whole objective now, is what I do. I've been in the health industry for 10 years. So I was in it before I even was going through cancer. But now my whole objective is to help people who have overcome that adversity, but still haven't necessarily rebuilt their mindset, rebuilt their body, and is ready to transform that. And that's what I'm here to help people with, for, whatever challenge you've gone through in life.
That's great, sir. So what were the top 3 learnings from this journey?
Number one is don't ever try to fight these battles alone. It's a very lonely journey. anytime you are going through this, because you feel it. I'll say the number one thing I felt in the very beginning was I felt alone, not the fact that I didn't have support, but the fact that I didn't feel like anyone could relate to me at that moment. In the fact that, oh, well, you're not going through cancer, so how could you truly understand? And it wasn't in a mean way. It was just me feeling like super lonely. So what I had to do was I had to also find other individuals that had gone through testicular cancer, that I could start talking with them, start getting into that community of guys that had overcome that situation and can give me that emotional connection that I needed. So number one is, don't fight these battles alone. Use your support system. Find communities of people who've gone through similar situations and have overcome those situations. And you'll realize quickly that you are definitely not alone in what you're facing, and there's so much support out there. Number two would be, make sure you take care of your health. 100%. If I had not taken care of my health, if I had not made sure that it before cancer, not even knowing I was going to, of course, have cancer, but if I had not already been taking care of my health, eating the right foods, getting quality sleep, making sure I get movement in for 30 minutes each day, doing those things that will give you, a better quality life, I don't know if I'd be here today, quite frankly, because my body may not have been able to go through or handle all of that, intense struggles and pain and everything I just had to endure. So I'm not saying you're going to go through cancer, but what I am saying is, by you taking care of your health, by you taking care of your body, your nutrition, and your mindset, if something at some point in our life, something will pop up. But when something pops up, you are more prepared and you're ready to handle that situation. So make sure you are taking care of your mind and your body, because it will make a massive difference down the road. And then number three, I would have to say, is when you are going to try and do something big with your life, realize that you're doing something big, not just for yourself, but you're doing something big to make an everlasting impact in somebody else's life. And what I mean by that is, I have a little acronym that I learned from a person named Jim Quick, and he's kind of like a brain expert and just has some really cool acronyms. And the acronym is HOPE, and it's help one person every day. And what that means is, I can now use all of my struggles, all of my pain. And I want you to know this too. Whatever you're going through, realize that there is a purpose and a meaning behind this, that I can now use this to help one person every single day who's maybe going through cancer, struggling in their health journey, or whatever it might be. And don't ever underestimate the power of helping one person, because there's a compound effect to that. Because when you teach somebody a lesson, or you help them through something, they're going to take the knowledge you gave them and then go and use it to maybe help somebody else as well. So by the time you've helped 5 or 10 people, you may have technically helped 100 people going through challenging experiences because of the knowledge you've been able to give to them, where they can then go on and share it with others. So for me, realize there's a meaning attached behind your pain. And don't ever underestimate the power of just giving back and helping one person every single day, whether it's through my podcast. I have a cancer Facebook group where we have over 6,000 members in the group that I built only a year ago, which has just been absolutely incredible. It's a group I never wish I had to build, but to see the love and support for one another it's so powerful. And just whatever route you're going, just don't ever underestimate that. So those would be my 3 biggest advices to help whoever's going through whatever situation they're facing.
Amazing, sir. So, what would be your message for the patients and caregivers out there?
Yeah, my best advice to anybody who is going through cancer right now, or any difficult moment, is number one, realize that you don't get too ahead of yourself, and just focus on where you need to go to healing yourself today. A lot of the times, and I have to keep saying this, but it's so important, that we just get too ahead of ourselves and constantly worry, and it creates PTSD. It creates what's called scanxiety, meaning constantly worrying when we have checkups and things like that. And of course, we're going to worry a little bit, but if you could just rely on your faith, your support, and take care of yourself too. Take care of your body. Make sure you're doing the right things for optimal health. You will start to feel more confident. You will start to get on more positive and powerful routines in your life. And a lot of those stressful, constant worries will slowly diminish because you're doing everything you possibly can to progress yourself forward. Now, I know this is a tough journey because you're in the thick of it. You're right in the middle. But if you can just focus on today, where I need to go to heal myself, and what is the one thing I can do? Don't overcomplicate it. You don't have to do a million things, just one thing. You will slowly start to heal yourself. You'll slowly start to see where you need to go, and it'll start to get more clear on the path of curing yourself through whatever cancer or whatever challenge you're facing.
So if you have to sum up your entire cancer journey in one sentence, then what would it be?
Oh, man. That's a great question. I would say, in one sentence, I would say, life is a journey, but don't waste it. And I guess I can expand just a second on it. So life is a journey, don't waste it. And what I mean is I think a lot of us can realize who are going through cancer and who've overcome cancer, how precious our life is. And that, at the end of the day, we realize that our life is never guaranteed. And we have to enjoy these moments, and we have to enjoy the time and the energy we have with the people and experiences we have on this earth. So just remember, life is a journey, and we have to learn to enjoy the process, and really enjoy the moments that we have during that time.
Absolutely, sir. So, sir, thank you so much. It was really inspiring listening to you. And thank you very much for sharing your experience from the beginning, and also wish you all the very best for your future endeavors. Take care.
Thank you so much.